And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a jammed pack. Look at this episode of Wrestling Wednesday on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Top right hand corner of the screen there by Mr. Christopher Colucci. We call him Fur. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming on. Gary Althiser below him, and then below me, Scotty Minter. We're all here for Wrestling Wednesday, episode 13 on Running Point, and we have a very special guest with us today as well, getting ready for State himself from United Local in Hanoverton, their own little community, their own little world down there. Dallas McCracken bringing a joy to us. Dallas, how we doing today, buddy?
Doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you got it. We couldn't have a Wrestling Wednesday without our buddy Dallas, man.
Well, Dallas, this is your senior year, and we know what happened last year. You made some upsets. You surprised some people. You got to the finals, and you lost a heartbreaker 3-2. I can't imagine you're thinking about anything else but being at the top of the podium. Tell me about your mindset right now. How are you feeling heading into this weekend?
The mindset this weekend is just gotta compete, just work hard, make sure, do my things, make stuff happen.
Dallas, one of the things I have for you is, Gary just laid it out how last year went and how you got so close, made some upsets, and that taste that you had of it really came back this year. It felt like you were always so hungry to get right back to it. How hard was it getting through that season, just like constantly having the hunger to get back to where you were last year?
Well, this year, I didn't have as many injuries that I did last year. So this year felt a little bit more easier in the practice room. I wasn't so sore, injured, just feel much more healthier this year in the practice room and competing.
Dallas, coming into the state, we have 10 one-seeded wrestlers, and 20% of that is McCrackens. What's it like having your sister being at the shot with you both going in as one seeds? What's that like?
Competing with my sister and her also being up there with me seems pretty good. Last year, me and her both made history with her placing third and I'm placing second. And hopefully we can make even more history this year if we both get into the finals.
So I was checking out your bracket. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in that bracket, if I did my math right, that you've wrestled already and you've beat. And these were some crazy close matches. Edwards from Conneaut, you beat 3-2. Thomas from Harrison Central last season, you pinned at the buzzer in the third period, but I think it might have been tied when that happened, or, you were up by 1. Riggenbach from Dalton, you won 6-4. I think that was an overtime. McKeon from Black River was 2-1. And Congdon from Indian Valley last season, you pinned him quick. You got a lot of matches with these guys. You've seen these guys. Do you feel like that's going to make your path a little better? You got more confidence heading into this bracket, knowing you've wrestled half of the guys here?
Coming into the bracket this year, it's just gotta have that good mindset, just one match at a time. If you overlook a match, you could always lose. Like what I did last year at districts last year, I overlooked a kid, lost in the quarterfinals, and ended up placing fourth at districts, and then turns right around and plays second at state. You just have to have that good mindset, the competitor mindset to just think about one match at a time. And the way I wrestle, I don't really care if I go out there and beat a kid 8-0 or something. I'm just out there. I'm completely okay with winning one 2-point matches.
And one of the things that I always ask wrestlers when they come on, because it's such a mental sport, obviously we know all the physicality that goes into it, but at the end of the day, it's just you and the other guy on the mat. There's no one there to save you. It's all about what you're doing. Talk about your mental game and what you do to get in the right mental space, and how much it's made you a mentally stronger player and person.
Kenny would like to call me, our Coach Kenny. He always calls me like a silent killer because I don't talk before my matches. I don't even listen to music. I may listen to music for during warm-ups and stuff, but as soon as that comes like the competition, I just stand there. Once it gets about my time, I put my headgear on, I stand there. I may jump around a little bit to get the blood flowing, but I'm just thinking that it's me, myself, and I out there on that mat, and I'm gonna dominate out there.
Dallas, switching sports a little bit. You're going to play YSU at football next year. What made you come to the decision of going to YSU?
Competing up at YSU for football, it's always been a dream of mine to play D1 sports, and it just came up with that right opportunity with YSU, and can't beat free education.
Yeah, so you're headed there to play football. So this potentially could be your last week of competing in wrestling. Is it feeling a little bittersweet right now for you? I don't know if you plan on doing any more wrestling after this, but it's got to be a little bit tugging at your heart.
Oh yeah, it definitely is tugging at my heart a little bit. I dumped my life in the wrestling for the past 5 years, and just had that goal in mind of becoming a state champion ever since I started wrestling. And it is a little bit bittersweet, but I'm ready. I want to bring it on.
You know, if you go and you win a state championship, that would mean a lot to not just yourself, but also the entire United community and the school system at United. Talk about what it's like to be able to represent United, the school system, the community that we know is so good down there in Hanoverton.
Representing United is pretty good to me because they've always been behind me with sports and stuff, especially with Coach O as the athletic director and the head coach. He's always been there helping, and I give him all the credit for bringing wrestling here to United. If he would have never brought wrestling to United, I would have not been where I'm at now with that sport. So United stands a pretty good push with me.
Now, Dallas, in the back of your mind, I know you don't want to be thinking about, you're taking it one match at a time, but, if you do win state and you do go out on the high honors, what's that celebration going to be like? You going to shake his hand, get your hand raised? Is there something you got planned? What's going to be your celebration? Do you have something in mind?
Me and the coaches always joke around, like, if I do end up winning that state champion, I'll go up and I'll throw Coach Kenny, throw Coach Althiser, or Coach Kiko. But I'm just gonna play it cool, shake his hand, get my hand raised, and then go hug my mom.
And then go throw Coach.
Yeah.
Hey, instead of throwing him, can you please pancake Kenny for us all? I think that would be more entertaining. Just one time, give him a good pancake on the mat.
I might. Who knows?
I promise you. If you throw Coach Kenny, that'll be on every platform we can get it.
Content.
It would definitely be.
Speaking of Coach Kenny, he's done a great job at United. You guys always have a bunch of kids on the team, almost always fill every weight class, which is not easy. I always ask whoever comes on the show, who your training partner is, who's your drilling partner. Do you have a go-to in the room? Is it one of the coaches? Do you have other guys that are your go-tos, or has it been somebody different every year?
When I was a freshman and sophomore, we had Payne Brereton in there, and I practiced with him a lot. And then since he graduated like junior and this year, they brought in Bodie Kiko. He was a 2020 state qualifier. And they brought in Justin Mitchell. I'll wrestle with him. And Coach Kiko.
One of the things I always like to ask seniors is about, trying to leave the program better than when they found it. And I know you have instilled leadership into a lot of the young guys that are coming up in this wrestling room. And I want you to talk a little bit about the underclassmen and what you've seen this year from them that makes you confident that when you graduate, there's still going to be a lot of leaders in that room, and United is going to be just as successful as ever in wrestling.
I want to give out a good shout out to Chance Cope because he was our 165 this year, and unfortunately he did not make it out of sectionals. but he was a district alternate. He just started wrestling as a sophomore, so him doing pretty good and competing at a tough weight class of 165 really shows like his leadership, and I do see him being pretty good next year and helping out the team a lot. So I definitely he's going to help bring that program up a little bit more next year.
Send Scotty, you got something?
Yeah, I got one for you, Dallas. You talked about your underclassmen and their leadership and how you see a bright future for the United program moving forward. But I just wanted to know, like, if there's like a couple words or like a certain style you want to be kind of affiliated with, like what do you want people to say about you once you're all said and done here on the high school level? What are some things you want people to say about you, and maybe like what would you say is your style, or what is your like makeup as a wrestler?
With this, a lot like with football, a lot of the kids have said like you may be mean at some point, like being like really mean to the kids, like about because I'm pushing them harder because I know that they can work hard. And I've always wanted the kids to say that I'm always the hardest worker that they've always seen and look up to me because I'm such a hard worker. And it really really just turns in the wrestling is when I'm in the wrestling room, I'm the hardest worker. When we're doing our live goes, I'm going harder than everyone else. I'm wrestling hard. I'm wrestling longer than everyone else. I put in the work after practice, before practice, and I'm just doing all that extra work.
So your freshman and sophomore year, I think you were coming in pretty close to 285. And then last year and this year, I noticed you've been down about 20, 25 pounds maybe. I think I asked you once about that. Do you feel like cutting that weight, that 20 pounds or so, or however much it was, you think that's helped you, especially in these tough, close matches that you really got to dig deep, go all three periods sometimes to overtime? Do you think that's really pushed you up over the top?
Yeah, it really has pushed me up over the top. When I was a sophomore or freshman sophomore, I was real big. I was 285 pure, and I wasn't healthy. I wasn't fast enough. And then cutting that weight down last year as a junior really did help me out a lot into getting stuff done with the team and stuff. And especially for myself, it really definitely helped me out a lot. When I've definitely gotten a lot faster, even turned over to football, it helped me out a lot. I got faster and I got more agile and my footwork got a lot better. And I see that kind of helping me in with going to college here soon, of playing at this lighter weight. I'm not so fat anymore. And then going up to college, I put on that muscle and I'm still as fast as I am now.
We would be remiss if we didn't also ask you about your future endeavors on the career side, what things you want to go for. Obviously you're going to YSU to play football, but you also have to go there to be a college student. What kind of career path do you see yourself trying to go into?
When I'm at YSU, I'm going to try and study construction engineering, and hopefully I get in the construction field after college, maybe start my own construction business or something to do with that.
Let's go. I like it. The business mindset too. I like it. Make sure if you start your own construction business, come back and be a sponsor of YSN. We'd love to have you.
For sure.
All right. Last question. So your freshman, sophomore year, you said you were right around 285. So I always ask, what, after you've cut some weight, after you've worked hard, what is your favorite post-weigh-in meal? We've heard about Twinkies, pomegranate seeds, pickles, a lot of PB&J. Do you have something unique that you eat?
When I was a heavyweight, like when I was much heavier than I am now, and I used to have to cut every morning to make 285, and it was pretty terrible. Um, I'd always right after I drink like a Pedialyte, and I'd probably eat like a PB&J sandwich, or I munch on some breakfast sandwiches or something.
That's awesome. One more thing before you go, Dallas. We do this with all of our player profiles, no matter the sport. We want to give you the time to take the spotlight off yourself a little bit and shine it on your support system, the people that you have in your corner that you really wouldn't be here without. I want to give you the time to give out your shout outs and give people in your life some flowers.
Well, the number one shout out goes to God himself. Like, I couldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for him. And it goes out to my mom. My mom's been there for me through everything. And then the coaches. Like, the coaches weren't being such great coaches to me and pushing me harder and harder every day in the practice room, in the weight room. And I would not be the person I am today without the coaches nor my mom. And definitely want to give a great shout out to United for letting me represent United down at the state tournament this weekend.
Let's go. We can't wait. I know Chris and Gary are going to be down there in Columbus watching you and all the other YSN guys and girls that we have down there competing for state. Dallas, we wish you the best of luck, buddy. We can't wait to see you bring home a trophy to United, and we look forward to talking to you real soon.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Dallas McCracken from United, one of the great guys that we've had. Man, we've had a lot of great wrestlers. I can't believe it's week 13 already, Gary. And hopefully next week we can bring on one more for our season finale and talk about a state champion.
Yeah, it's been a great year. We've got a lot of great kids that came on, a lot of good answers to these questions. And, you know, one thing about him that I noticed, you could tell that this is it for him. He's not going on to college to wrestle. So you could just see how he was talking, the expressions on his face, that he's really looking forward to this weekend and, you know, finishing up where he wants to with his goals, but he's also going to miss it. You can see that. So hopefully someday he comes back and he's, you know, a football and a wrestling coach.
I want to go back to the comments because we had one that came in that was a question. I think it was probably directed to both you guys about the differences between divisions 1, 2, and 3 wrestling when it gets to this level. Guys, can you put into words on you know what the differences are in these division levels?
Well, when you get to like Division 1, it's the big schools, and obviously, if there's a big school, there's more kids in the school. There's more kids in the school. There's more kids on the team, and the cream's going to rise to the top. And then you get a whole group, hundreds of those schools. You make a division. There is a website called Dubstat that uses an ELO method to rank wrestlers and weight classes, the difficulties on them, and I think the top 10 were all Division 1, and number 11 was a Division 3 school. So yes, traditionally Division 1 is harder than the others. But there are circumstances where that's not true. There are some D3 weight classes sometimes that are more difficult than the D1 in the same weight. But according to that website, which is a really good website, he's been really accurate on his predictions for who's getting out of sectionals and districts. The top 10 are D1.
I think that's globally in every sport. I mean, when you look at like D1 basketball, for example, since we're in the basketball tournaments, yes, there are D3 teams that are better than some D1 teams that could go into D1 and beat some of them. But when you look at as a whole in Division 1, you see so much more widespread talent, so many more teams with maybe even 1 or 2 guys or girls that are elite talented because they have such a big pool to pull from that there's a good bet that there's 1 or 2 people in your school system that can do something with the basketball. Even if you don't have a great team, you probably have 1 or 2 girls or guys that you have to circle on a scouting report if you're Division 1, which you don't see necessarily in the Divisions 3 and 4 when you get lower in the divisions. It's a little bit more heavy weighted towards the top when you talk about talent and how much talent is on a roster.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference. More bodies, more opportunities, more competition. I mean, it's just, you know, just the way that it goes. You got a guy like Dallas McCracken walking the hallways. If you're a Division 1 school, maybe you've got 3 or 4 or 5 guys his size walking the hallways. Whereas a D3 school, he was probably the biggest kid in his school, I would imagine, or he's pretty close to it. Or if you get some of these other schools, they got 400 or 500 kids per grade. There's going to be a lot of kids that size. It's just the, more people, more opportunities to have a good athlete.
What's your take on this?
So yeah, I love the what guys talk about and what Division 1, 2, and 3s mean, but it just comes down to who wants it more, who puts in more work, who wants to get on top of that podium more. I've seen guys that win state champions in D1 to go wrestle D1 in college and never see the lineup. I've seen kids in D3 to win state championships and then go have stellar D1 careers. It's there's a big fine line, like what Gary said, where there's more kids, more athletes, more things to do better. But it just who wants to work harder, who wants to go to the tournaments, the tough tournaments, who wants to get their butt kicked and then learn off those losses. You win more off of losses than you do off of wins. You learn how to get better, you learn how to change, you learn how to do better, and going to wrestle a tougher, better competition is where you get better. So a D3 kid can do very well at a D1 college. But I'm not taking anything away from D1 kids. You have more, accesses to bigger things. So there's, give and takes for each division. But I just love the sport, and it's going to be a fun weekend to see all three divisions. We only have one kid in Division 1. It's Marky Stankorb wrestling in D1 from Fitch. So it's gonna be a fun weekend.
Marky Mark, we've had him on the show. He's a great kid. Can't wait to see what he's able to do. One of the things I want to just point out, because this is awesome, I keep track of the viewerships of each show live, and I try to keep a record of whatever show does, so I can know when my views are going up, when they're going down, et cetera, et cetera. Dallas McCracken just broke the record for most live views on Running Point. We peaked at 53 views live. On across the Facebook, YouTube, website, wherever you want to watch it. But yeah, when we say the wrestling community is hungry for content and hungry for exposure and hungry for this coverage, it's being proven in the way that people are coming on and supporting these kids that we're having on Running Point.
No surprise there.
Yep. No, I mean, the whole reason why I wanted to, come back and help YSN with wrestling is to grow the sport. And that's what we're doing with a lot of guys, the views on the stream and building the content. Go follow. I got to plug our thing. Every match we're going to cover at state. We're going to tweet it out, win, loss. We're going to tweet it. It'll be on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. It's YSN Wrestling. That's the Twitter, and then on the Instagram we're gonna have the interviews and whatnot. That's YSN Live _wrestling. So it's doing a lot there. I'm gonna try and get a story out every night for each division, plus the girls division. We're gonna try and do that every night at state, 3 days in a row. It's the best 3 days for wrestling in the state of Ohio. So it's going to be keep saying it's going to be a great weekend. And I promise that we're going to do our best to get the best we can. We're going to get all the photos we can. So yeah, go follow those socials. We'll keep you guys up to date with every match. I've been working my tail off like a dog to try and get everything ready for this weekend, and it's going to be fun.
Let's preview this. We the numbers are in. We know how many people are going to be at state. We know how many 1 seeds we have. Talk about what we're looking for when we're going to state and these kids that are competing and what we're expecting. And I'm going to leave this to you and Gary, because you're obviously preparing for the trip down there. Guys, let's preview state and talk about some of the big names that are going to be heading down there for YSN.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually missed a few wrestlers. So we're up to, I have 42. We're up to like 44 wrestlers. I missed 2 guys that I didn't put in my spreadsheet. But yeah, we have 18 teams for the boys and 8 teams for the girls. We have 10 1 seeds, 8 2 seeds, 15 3 seeds, and 16 4 seeds, which is a crazy amount for the small northeast part of Ohio that we cover. Excuse me. It's going to be fun. Beaver Local's coming in with 5 total wrestlers, Louisville with 4, Canfield with 3. For the boys, and then girls, Salem's got 2, East Liverpool's got 2. So it's a lot of teams coming in for the state tournament. Just Northeast Ohio wrestling is grueling. If you place high in that district tournament in our Northeast area, you're going to do well at the state tournament. A lot of kids put in a lot of time and effort It's going to be a grueling weekend. It's some of those matches you're 15, 20 minutes apart, and you got to be ready to go back out there and wrestle. So a lot of kids, a lot of coverage. Gary, I'll leave it up to you.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be the names that we're familiar with, the kids that we've had on the show are the ones we're going to watch out for. The ones that have done well, those are the ones that really keep an eye out on. But there will be somebody that'll do what Dallas did last year. Dallas came in as fourth place finisher at district and was 1 point away from being a state champion. He lost 3-2 in the finals. There'll be somebody that comes through like that. Those are the kids that I'm getting excited to watch. The ones that are coming in on fire and peaking at the right time. The ones whose mindset is, I'd rather go out there and leave every single thing on the mat than ever have a regret. That's what makes this tournament special. That's what really I'm looking forward to. And every year you'll see that. I'm hoping that all the YSN kids do well. And I hope that Chris and I are extremely busy because we have a bunch of kids who are winning and moving on. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I also want to give a shout out to one of the guys that I think would be down there if it wasn't for an unfortunate, medical forfeit in the sectionals, and it's from D1 in Hoban. The Feister, Mr. Feister. We saw, unfortunately, he had the medical forfeit after finishing second in the district. Definitely qualified for districts, but probably would have been a guy that we're talking about in state with the season that he was putting together as well.
Yeah, he was predicted to be a state champ. He's a phenom. He really, when I saw that, my heart sunk. I know that had to be tough for him and his family, but the good thing is he's young and he's got time left. And you know what? In the grand scheme of things, this will be a little bit of a stinger of a memory, but it's not going to define anything. He's got a bright future ahead of him.
I don't think you can go through a wrestling career without having to battle some kind of injury and some kind of adversity,
Yep.
All right, so we're excited for state. We can't wait. I think we are about ready to go to a commercial break and transition into the recap of the basketball night last night. We had district semifinals. Do you guys have any last thoughts before we head to state, before we wrap up week 13 of Wrestling Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm going to plug it again. Follow the socials. We're going to keep you guys up to date with everything. We just started up the Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Just started that up. Go follow that. When I kid you not, we're gonna have a guy up in the stands reporting, sending tweets out after every match. We're gonna have guys on the ground getting interviews and pictures. So follow the Twitter, the X, the Instagram. Follow that all. We're gonna get up to date with, quickest, fastest we can. We're gonna be live. We're just gonna be spitting results out as fast as we can. So go follow the socials to be up to date with everything.
I will say, if you're going to X or Twitter to search for that social media account, I ran into this a couple of days ago when I was trying to find it on my personal one. You have to search it in all caps or it will not show up on Twitter. So all caps, YSN_wrestling. Twitter, for some reason, who knows what algorithm Elon Musk is using nowadays. But for some reason, if you don't cap it, then it's not going to show up. It's not going to pop up on your search. So make sure you're searching all caps, YSN wrestling. _wrestling, I should say, YSN_wrestling. Follow that Twitter account. Obviously, the YSN account will also be retweeting everything that they put out as well. But give them a follow so they can get boosted and they can have a better chance of being seen by everybody out there too. We can't wait. State for wrestling is this weekend, and then next weekend we'll have girls state. Hopefully, we have Springfield in there. They're our last team left. And then hopefully we can get some guys teams into state in 2 weeks too. So wrestling up first.
Hey, Anthony, I want to say one thing. I just want to thank you personally and Scotty for having me on. This is year 3 of Wrestling Wednesday. I love doing this. It's one of the highlights of my week every week during the season. I love getting on here and talking about this. You and Ty started things up a couple of years ago with this. It's just been a blast. And we're picking up momentum every year. It just seems like we're getting more and more exposure with Chris doing what he does. He's getting the YSN wrestling name out there. But I just like to personally thank you, man. I love doing this, and I'll do this as long as you want me here. Even after I'm done coaching, when I retire coaching, I still have no plans of stopping anything YSN, especially wrestling.
I reflect on the first year we did this with me and Ty, and we knew nothing about the sport at all. We were like, Gary, come teach us.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of the questions we asked in that first year, where I don't even think we got players on that year. I think our first year was just me and Ty trying to learn the game, learn the
Right.
sport. Nothing funner than that, buddy. And being able to bring, everyone at YSN's coverage up, because if you know the sport, you can cover it better. You can interview people better if you just know it a little bit. I'm not saying we're an expert at wrestling now, at me and Ty or Scotty, but now because of what Gary and Chris have done, we know the sport enough that we can go interview a wrestler and not sound like we're Joe Schmoes with no idea what we're talking about. So we thank you guys for being able to bring some expertise to the sport. And I also want to shout out the guys that did that for soccer in the fall too. I think soccer is in the same boat wrestling is in the fall, where we were just looking for guys to come to YSN with knowledge of the sport to raise us up. And we've had a couple of guys do that in soccer for the fall sports. Hopefully we get some track and field guys in the spring as well, so we can give another sport that probably doesn't get nearly enough credit or coverage its fair shake in the spring as well.
Hey, you didn't ask me where to use the chair or where the turnbuckle is, so it wasn't that bad.
Yes,
you
we at least knew, thanks to the movie The Pacifier, we knew that it wasn't WWE wrestling.
Yeah, well, it was great, and you know what? A lot of the questions you guys asked, I loved it because they were things that I've thought about in my head a million times, just the scenarios, and it was just great to really get that out there, be able to talk about those things, and like I said, I look forward to this every week. The only regret I have is that it doesn't last longer, but that's the OHSAA's decision, not ours.
We still haven't yet had you demonstrate any moves on Ty. Which
on Ty, well,
I think we wanted to get you in the studio at some point.
Yeah, it'll happen someday.
Now we have the whole athletics building that you can do whatever you want in. So we got to get some demonstrations going on.
Give them that Win Dixie.
Yes, please.
There you go, Scotty.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we have some basketball to talk about. We had 2 games last night, 2 tickets punched to the district championship, and we're excited about it. We'll go and take a commercial break, come back, and talk about those 2 games on Running Point. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town.